What is going on, everyone? We are now live. This is going to be a Bass and Bourbon episode. It's going to be going up as a podcast as well as this live stream over on my Spotify channel, which is Benjamin Nowak Fishing. I also have something pretty cool going on over on Spotify. If you guys check out my most recent, podcasts, they're actually videos on a Spotify platform. So you guys can actually watch those videos on Spotify if you guys maybe are traveling or don't have access to YouTube. You can watch them over on Spotify platform, which is pretty cool. Again, just huge shout out to all the dads out there. Happy Father's Day. Today is Father's Day. So huge shout out to everyone, and huge shout out to Nick LeBrun for winning Major League Fishing. I think it's the pro circuit now, back-to-back events, and it couldn't happen to a better dude. The guy's on a roll. He won 2 back-to-back and then won, or had like a top 10 or top 5 in one other one. But without further ado, we're going to dive into this thing. We're going to talk about how you guys have a shot at winning $100,000 fishing a team bass tournament and kind of unique situations or setup for the tournament. And with me, I have Dan Mundy, who is one of the, directors and founders of American Bass Club. So Dan, kind of give yourself a little introduction and who you are and how you got started with this whole project.
Yeah. So Dan Mundy, I started the American Bass Club. I've got several guys across the country that fish tournaments. They're just like you, just like myself. We love the sport of bass fishing, and we love the idea of conservation of the sport of bass fishing. So in all of that, with everything that's going on out there and with the sport of bass fishing, we all know it's tough for a hardworking American guy, girl to get into some of these tournaments where you really have a shot at winning some decent payback. I mean, the unfortunate thing is that everything's more expensive, so paybacks are really going down in the tournament world, and entry fees are going up, unfortunately. So it makes it really tough for the average hardworking guy, and that was kind of my situation. Family and all of that dynamic. Have my own business, and just had 2 boys that played travel hockey. If anybody's in any sports at all now, any sport really that you do anymore is a full-time job. It's a lifestyle versus, an activity anymore. So it didn't lend to me being able to fish, bass tournaments like I wanted to. And that was my passion my entire life, was to fish tournaments. Well, now, the boys have aged out and I'm done coaching and managing hockey. Did that for 16 years. And my parents were ill, and I don't have any brothers and sisters. So we had to take care of my mom and dad. They wanted to stay home. So we did that for 5 years. And all of that is in the past. And we're moving forward into what my, Melissa calls our second chapter. Right. And now we're in their second chapter. She's like, when you get in the second chapter, you can go fish tournaments. So now there's really, I started looking around, and I'm honestly, and I have, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of the guys that fish the upper tiers, and I have a ton of respect for all those guys and have a ton of respect for all those organizations. There's nothing bad there. But the problem is that for guys that like myself and guys that have their own business or have family obligations, such as I did, there's no place where you can go and jump in and have a potential to win anything decent. And there's certainly nothing that you can do with, one of your friends or with your spouse or with your grandson or granddaughter. There's nothing out there right now like that. So I sat down, I've been thinking about it for probably 10 years now, going, why isn't there something good that I can fish with my buddy and have a shot at making some decent money, So we sat down and started, kicking ideas around. And like I said, I've been thinking about it for 10 years. And we finally, there's podcasts all over talking about how, entry fees are way high and payouts are way low. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And nobody's really doing anything about it. So we threw together the American Bass Club and bounced all these ideas off of hardworking American people and said, hey, that love to fish. Okay. We love the sport of bass fishing. Right. So we said, how do we do this and do it so that it's beneficial for everybody? So we built this for all of you guys, all the American, hardworking guys that like to fish, like to be out on the water. Cause I love
that's,
it. I know you do.
that's the big thing, right? Is like Kylie and I were sitting down. I was watching the weigh-in and I was watching live all day because Nick was up there and I have a
Yeah,
pretty close
yeah,
relationship with him. And Kylie's like, okay, so he's fished how many tournaments and like what are his real odds to win 100 grand, right? And we start talking about it. And even if you win one, right? You win one in a career, you've done something.
yeah,
But you're really not making that much money. And like you're also away from home such an insane amount of time, right? So
right,
like what you guys are doing is giving people like myself an opportunity with my buddy, right?
yeah,
To go out and fish a tournament wherever shot to win real money. Like I'm
yeah,
not putting in money and like just kind of goofing around. And I think
yeah,
what BA or Bass Pro did last year was pretty cool with the American or Amateur Bass Open or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
But I think this kind of concept has real potential to grow across the country the more that people know about it, as long
I
as we
do.
get it in front of the right people. I told you this when you and I
Yeah,
talked on the phone.
yeah.
I was
No, I
like, it's a
agree.
great concept. It's just about getting eyes on it because
Exactly.
that is the hardest part.
Yeah, for sure. And we're not the idea here is that, and we've said it joking around, behind the scenes with the guys that are involved trying to put this together. We're like, listen, we're not going to make you famous. We're
Right.
not buying all the 4K cameras and following everybody around and doing all the video. And I know that that's big. And obviously with with the social media and all that stuff, it's all important. However, this is kind of a throwback to, and some of you young guys won't understand this, but this is a throwback to like the Red Man days, right? Way back. This is a throwback to where all
You
these guys.
guys need the trophy to be like a spittoon or something like really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Well, but
Yeah.
in this situation,
Yeah.
your entry fee is a little. It's not really high. I mean, you look at the overall concept. Anything else that you're fishing for at least $50,000, right around that mark. Those guys, a lot of those guys are paying $3,500, $5,000,
Yeah.
$1,800 for something less. So the $2,000 entry fee, you split it with whoever you're fishing with. It's $1,000 a piece. Really not outside the realm, and you really genuinely have a shot at $100,000. And not only that, all the money that we're gaining from that. I mean, obviously there's operational costs for anything that you do. Everybody understands that, but the
Yeah.
majority of it goes back. It's 85 to 90% payback. It falls between that, the percentage wise. You don't see that anywhere unless you're going to go walk up to the ramp at night, and throw
Yeah,
in
you're
your
yeah,
50 bucks.
exactly.
That's the only time you're ever going to see that. You don't see it anywhere else in the industry. And it's important to get, in my opinion, to get back to that. And it's also important to have it more family oriented. And when I say that, it's the whole thing about fishing is being out there with your grandkids, with your friends, with your family, your aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, and fish and enjoy the outdoors. And in a lot of these situations, I can't tell you how many. I was at a national championship. Okay, we were on Cumberland. Cumberland's a beautiful place to go. It's a great place to vacate. It's awesome down there. If you've ever, anybody's ever been there, they know what I'm talking about. The scenery is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I had two sets of aunts and uncles. We had our daughter and our grandkids down there. We were all down there. We rented a house to stay down there. And guess what? Not one of them could step on the boat with me during practice.
I know. I
Like,
know.
come on. That's not how it should be. You should be able to practice with all of those people. You should be on the water. You can all fish, have fun, have a good time. That's how it's kind of a throwback to the old, going back to the old days is the way it should be. It's more family oriented, more designed for you and your buddy to have some fun and have a real shot at making some decent money.
Yeah, more than that too is like the way that you guys are approaching the tournament. So kind of talk about the format of the events. Each event is 2-day event, and then I'll let you kind of dive into it because I think you
Yeah.
mentioned something earlier about conservation and the importance of conservation in the sport. I think that's one of the biggest things. I know MLF has sort of started taking a charge, but I'm not a
They
big
have.
fan of like 100 fish tournament. So kind of break it down for me and let's
Yeah.
share kind of what it's all about.
So what we wanted to do is we wanted to have, again, this opportunity, but for a guy that's got a full-time job or a full-time family obligation, really, you're going to create this is going to be your week vacation. So again, you want
That's
to be able
right.
to spend
That's
time on
right.
time on the water with your family, while you're doing this. And we wanted it to be set up so that a guy could come and do one of these. So what we did is we called them regional qualifiers rather than a trail or a series or anything like that. They're just regional qualifiers. And there's 5 of them. We did 1 north, 1 south, 1 east, 1 west, and 1 central in the United States. And you only have to fish one of those regional qualifiers to advance to a national championship. Now, you can fish them all if you choose. And I don't know why you wouldn't, because again, now you got 5 chances at 100,000, right? But yeah. The idea is that it's in your general area, so you don't have to travel too far. You can take the 1 week, because most guys, if they're serious about it, are going to take a week. They're going to pre-fish before the tournament. And then we did 2-day because you don't want somebody to, you know how it works in the tournament, situation. Some guy accidentally.
That was, dude, I was so happy when I looked at the dates. I think I messaged Russell. I was like, is this a 2 or a 3-day? Because dude, when you fish a 1-day event, like you could go out on a spot and smash them, right? Especially on some of the venues. You're going to see a guy smash a bag, and then on day 2, he's going to come in with an
He's got nothing.
Bag.
It's happened to all of us. If you ever fish a tournament, it's happened to all of us. And you've also been going between, and you're fishing between, and all of a sudden, boom, you catch one, 5.5 pounder, and you're like, oh, bonus, right?
Yeah.
And now you got, a better sack than what you anticipated, through practice, just because of the one bonus fish. So we didn't want somebody to run away with it in 1 day. And so it proves that in 2 days, you can, it really kind of separates guys that are, that have put in a little bit of effort rather than just showing up and hitting a honey hole by accident kind of thing. So that was the whole concept for the 2-day. And the reason for, again, the regional qualifiers was so that a guy could do it on 1 week, out of the year. And if you do advance, so in each one of these regional qualifiers, there are 200 team events, top 40 advance to the national championship out of each regional qualifier. So if you're one of the top 40 teams, you move on to the national championship. National championship will be held next year. You don't have that place located yet. We don't have that. So it's all to be determined, but that national championship, you would be fishing for 250,000 first place. And it's not just about the first place. It's about, the top 40. So the top 10 on the regional qualifiers, second place is 25,000, third place 15, top 10 get 10. It pays back really well. There's nothing like it. I mean, there's just nothing like it. But in saying that, you have to have a full field, and that's where we were talking about trying to reach the right demographic, the right people, and getting the word out there. I think once the word gets out, I think it's kind of a no-brainer for anybody that loves the sport of bass fishing. It's really a no-brainer.
Especially any guy that is even moderately serious about tournaments, right? Like, the guys that are going to spend the $1,800 per open, and the guys that are going to spend your $2,000 per. I mean, I just don't think it makes sense not to fish this style of event if you're going to spend money on a tournament, anyways.
Yeah, the return on investment is the way I look at it. If you have any business savvy at all, and you look at anything from a business standpoint, and that's how most tournament anglers look at it. I mean, a lot of guys do it for fun. There's some guys, there's a certain percentage of guys that have that disposable income where they can just do it for fun, right? But most of us look at it like, hey, I'm very competitive, so I love the sport of bass fishing, super competitive, and now you put this in the mix. Well, what's my return on investment? What's it going to cost me to fish this? And what's the option for me to get, some of my money back or get my money back if I'm going to fish this? And those opportunities are just not there that much anymore. I mean, the paybacks are not that great. And it's because of all the overhead, right? They're all the media and the camera and all the different stuff. And we're not spending money on that. We're not spending money on the advertisement even. We're doing what we're doing now. It's a word of mouth deal kind of thing through social media, and it's through the platforms that we're on, like yours, to try to promote it. And that's the whole concept. And if everybody that's involved, if everybody told everybody about it, it would be done.
It's really, man, I just keep coming back to it. It's just about getting in front of the tournament guys, like real tournament anglers, guys like Travis Manson, Smallmouth Crush. Makes no sense for him not to fish it. Brad Holman, Matt Pangrack, like these dudes who are Grand Lake hammers. Like, why would you not put your money in? Todd Castledine, put your money in and come fish a $2,000 tournament for a shot at $100,000. Man, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about the Connect scale thing. I know we haven't really gotten that far, but I think this is a really cool aspect.
Yeah, I'm real big on, and I'll tell you. So you look at all these tournaments, and again, so everything kind of evolves into to certain situations, right? And so we're in this situation now where almost every tournament in the country is a boater co-angler scenario. The team events have kind of fallen by the wayside. So you can't fish with your buddy, your wife, spouse, whatever, your friend, grandson, granddaughter. You can't fish with any of them anymore. It's boater co-angler. It also has evolved to where it's always a 5 fish limit, right? And you got to bring them back to the scale, and you bring them across the big public scene. Okay, what I love about Connect Scale is that you don't have to do that anymore. You can still do 5 fish. That's the other thing I like about it. It's not just every little dink that you catch adds to your mix. It's still the 5 big fish. Okay, and we can structure it on the back end as a director. I can structure it however I want. So Connect Scale, the guys at Connect Outdoors have done a great job. Ben's a great guy, and they're very concerned about the conservation aspect as well. And so that's where this all kind of came from. And this Connect Scale is phenomenal. So you have basically essentially the way it works is this Bluetooth device. You have Bluetooth to your phone, your tablet, whatever you want to use on the boat. And the scale itself, you weigh your fish, take a picture of it. And what's unique about the scale is that on the back end as a director, it tells me the time you caught it, your GPS coordination or coordinates, where you caught it. And it's only for the director, just so that we can prove that you were within the boundaries of the tournament when you caught that fish. You take a picture of it, you weigh it, and you release it. And it live loads it into a live leaderboard. So back off of the boat, we don't allow the teams to watch the leaderboard because, as an example, if, Ben Nowak's over in this cove and I know what Ben's boat looks like, and I look at the leaderboard and he's in first place and I just passed him, and all of a sudden Ben's got 30 neighbors, right? Yep. So we don't want that to happen.
That's right.
Yeah. So we eliminated, on the water looking at the live leaderboard, but back at the weigh-in trailer, and all family members can watch the live feed all day. You can see who's first, second, third, and then we can structure it for 5 fish limit. We can structure it fish limit. We can structure it however we want on the back end. So we do the standard 5 fish. It's a team event, so both guys are fishing for the best 5 together. So you're both going after the biggest 5 that you can get for the day, and you can weigh, you can scale 50 fish if you want, and that Connect Scale will actually automatically call for you and tell you what your best 5 are. It'll also call out your biggest fish. So not only will we have the 5, your 5 fish on there and see who's leading with 5, but we'll also see who has the biggest fish in the in the tournament. So you'll have a big fish, as well. So it's really nice. It's great.
The kayak fishing aspect, where they do your Tourney X's and your other programs that will have this basically immediate catch and release platform, is so cool to me, because I'm such a big advocate for this, because I just hate putting them in a live well, especially when you get to a place like the Saginaw Bay, which you guys are coming to in October, to take these fish. Let's say I make a long run. We're talking cold water, so the fish are going to be fairly healthy. But if I'm making a 35-mile run to 50-mile run in rough water, these fish are coming back, and I don't care if they're healthy. They're going to be beat up.
I've done this for a long time, okay, and I'm not knocking anything that's going on out there, but I'm telling you with 100% certainty, the percentage of loss is way higher than people talk about. It's way higher. Those fish get it now that boats are even faster. Okay, guys are pushing the limits even harder. We all know that. Okay, you make a long run. Most of the bodies of water that we're talking about to have a big event like this are big bodies of water. Guys are making long runs. And the reality is this: those fish, when you catch a fish, you've already, a bigger fish, when you catch that fish, you've already stressed that fish just to catch it. Okay, now you put it in your live well. Most guys don't know how to fizz a fish, unfortunately. Okay. But even if you fizz that fish, it still has that nitrogen release, which is basically, in layman's terms, and again, I'm not a biologist. I don't I don't pretend to be, okay? But I know kind of what's going on there. And these fish have that, it's basically like an adrenaline rush for us, and it puts them into like almost like a cardiac arrest. And you may fizz them and take them, in your live well, get them to the weigh-in, and they're still alive. The fin's still okay. I'm still alive, and then you get, you don't get dinged for a dead fish, right? Goes into the release boat, and he's still kind of moving around, and they fizz him, and they do all that, and they release him, and he swims off, or she swims off. There's a huge percentage of those fish that perish. And if you look at, in our state, if you look at the comparison between like Saginaw Bay and Lake St. Clair, I believe, this is just my opinion, I believe that the only reason that Lake St. Clair sustains all of the pressure that it does is because it's shared with Canada. Same with the St. Lawrence. It's shared with Canada. So they don't get touched. None of those fish, they actually go through a whole spawn. But again, if you look at on Saginaw Bay, you look at the weights that will come in, especially in the fall, and you know what I'm talking about because
you
look at the weights that will come in, okay, versus the weights that come in on a regular basis at St. Clair. And I think what happens is St. Clair can sustain the pressure because it's a giant spawning flat, and all those fish that are in Canada get to go through their spawning cycle. However, when you do it on bodies of water where and you're out there, especially in the spawn, and you're taking those fish away in the spawn instead of doing a catch and release. And I don't know about you, that most people in the country know that we have a goby problem up here in Michigan. And it's done a lot of different things. It's made fishing better in a lot of cases. Fish are bigger. They've started feeding on those, and they've gotten more weight and so on. However, during the spawn, and I didn't know this, I don't know if you knew this or not, and I was amazed by this. We were doing some filming, and I put a GoPro right on a bed with almost a 5-pound smallmouth, and we were trying to get different camera angles and have this smallmouth nose down on some baits that we had, right?
Yeah.
And we're doing this for a while, and it's clear water. I'm in 7 foot of water. I can see the fish plain as day. I can see the bed plain as day. I can see my bait, see him how he's reacting. Oh, that's going to be a great shot right there because he reacted to it. Right? So I get back and I pull the camera footage. Well, here's what's happening. The whole time this fish is moving around when he's not attacking our bait, trying to get our bait, which he thinks is a predator in the bed, away from the eggs or what's there. The whole time there's 30, 40 gobies around the outside of this bed that you can't even see.
That's so interesting.
On the boat.
So and I've heard guys on Grand Traverse Bay talk about this, and they're like, dude, you realize that fish is not just darting around that bed because he's like skittish on the bed.
Yeah.
He's like, there's so many gobies in Grand Traverse. Like there's hundreds of gobies around that bed. So the second you pull that fish off, those gobies go.
Yeah. Never saw it.
No.
Okay. So most of the fish that are getting caught are the males off of these beds. So if you hold most of your tournaments in the spring where you're around the spawn and you guys are catching these fish, and now you're hauling them back to the weigh-in and and doing the whole weigh-in thing and then dropping them back in the water. If it's 30 miles, 40 miles that you ran, that spawn is probably done. And I know that happens because, like we were talking about on Saginaw Bay, there's areas on Saginaw Bay that used to have a ton of smallmouth that you could go there during the spawn and see them and have, a 30 or 40 or 50 fish day if you were catching them off the bed. And now there's no fish there because there's always been kind of an opening tournament.
There's an opening tournament, and I have those big college events. And in the past 2 or 3 years that they've launched out of the river, you've started to see more fish getting caught off bed a lot closer to the river. And I mean, some of it, I'm sure guys are finding new beds that they haven't found, but I think a lot of it is those fish are pushing out to the bay and saying, well, why do I need to go to the Charity Island when there's, I don't know what the island's called. There's this Poop Island right here. And it's got those seagulls on the backside. Yeah. I'll just spawn in here. Like, it's good enough spawning habitat. So now guys are able to catch a lot of big fish right there too. There's that historical. There's
that, and the Saginaw River is not like the St. Clair River where it's clean water. It's not like the Detroit River, it's not that scenario. It's a dirtier scenario. So what's happened is in the last few years with LiveScope now you can see those beds in that dirty water. You can find them a lot easier than you could before. So I think that helps too. And I think that's why those guys are finding those. But you're right. All those fish are getting pulled from those far out areas and brought back to the river and dropped, and they don't go back to those areas. And worse off, what happens is those beds, those predators get in those beds, and those fish, I don't think those fish ever make maturity. So we lose a huge portion of those fish. And then if you move away from the spawn and you're just fishing in general, there's still, like I said, with the stress that those bigger fish, the bigger the fish is, the faster that fish gets stressed out. And then that stress that they go through, I think that we really lose in these tournaments when you're fishing for the biggest 5 that you can get. I think we really lose a lot more fish than people realize. And that's what we really love about the Connect scale, opportunity, is to be able to catch those, immediately release them. And if you notice, most of our tournaments are not around the pre-spawn, they're not around spawn, and they're not around post-spawn. They're all in the fall. And I don't know about you, my personal
I would
best,
rather catch them that way.
my personal best, and I've done a ton of spring fishing. I love it. I love sight fishing for smallmouth. I love it. However, all my personal best have all come in the fall. Every one of them. All the big fish that I've caught have been in the fall.
Well, like that's where I was most excited, because you're seeing all these events right now. And I think you have like 4 more years on the bay. The elites are going to come. You're going to see FLW come.
Yeah.
You have about 4 more years before it's like another St. Clair, and you have bags, but they're not crazy. And people get scared off by the wave. Someone dies. Legit. Someone will end up.
Yeah. Well, the bay is way more dangerous, in my opinion. It changes.
It's just
so
different.
fast.
It's just a different lake. And if people don't know what, anyways, that's a different topic. But like we're getting away from the spawn, right? So you're starting to see guys that are able to find fish that aren't looking at them. Like right. I know I had messaged Russell a little bit. Like I know what he was doing. And like he was trying to get away from other dudes who were going to go look at the same fish that everyone and their brother was going to look at. Right. And it just comes down to like being in the fall, there's so many different things you can do. If you want to go up shallow and throw a crankbait, if you want to go mid-depth and throw a swim bait, find clean water and do whatever. Like there's so many different patterns you can run in the fall. It's not just me looking at them. And I promise you and myself and the 200 other guys fishing this tournament are going to have different patterns going on. It's going to allow us to like do different things. And that's what's exciting about it. I don't know, man. I'm really excited about the format of it, and I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
There's
as well.
There's a question from Basser Mike. So he wants to know, last year BPS amateur tournament had a drawing for who gets to fish. If and when this blows up, what is your plan on who gets to fish and kind of managing?
The way it's structured is it's first come, first serve. Okay. There's no favorites. I mean, here's how I look at it. Okay. I love everybody. So I don't have a favorite. Okay. I love everybody. So the way it works is it's first come, first serve. And your first come, first serve is the minute that you pay your entry fee, you're in, and it's based on your entry fee. And as soon as your entry fee is in, is the order that you're in for blast off. So it's real simple.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It just keeps it simple.
And then for Connect Scale, so does everyone get a Connect Scale? Is there a pre-tournament meeting? Like, what is the plan for that process?
So the way it works is when you sign up, when you register for one of the events, so you initially, let me back up and say that you sign up as a member of American Bass Club. Yep. So when you join American Bass Club, your membership gets you a bunch of different discounts from all of our different sponsors that we have and it's amazing the different sponsors that we have, and all of them have offered some form of discount to the members of American Bass Club, and including Connect Scale and all these, and we'll go through all that stuff later, and I'll tell you more about that. So you become a member of American Bass Club, then you're able to register as a team, and they are team events. So you can register for a regional qualifier. When you register and you pay your registration for one of the regional qualifiers, we will send you a Connect Scale and a kind of a welcome packet in the mail and each team essentially has a team captain and then their teammate. And so the Connect scale will go to the team captain, the address that's provided for the team captain. And then we have on our site, as a member of American Bass Club, you can join. We have a smallmouth and a largemouth tournament, and it's an annual tournament, and it's just for one big fish. Okay. And the reason we did that, that's free to enter those two tournaments. Those are free. As long as you're a member of American Bass Club, you can register for those for free. And then if you don't register for one of the regional qualifiers, you can buy one of the Connect scales on our site. You can shop, on our site, buy a Connect scale. The reason we did those, the reason I did separated largemouth from smallmouth is because, if we try to compete with largemouth guys down south, being smallmouth guys up north, we're going to get crushed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we had
give me a shot, please.
Yeah. So we have to separate those two. But if you enter those two, it gives you an opportunity to work with your Connect scale and understand how that works in a tournament setting. And you can do it anytime at your convenience. You can do it, during the week, on the weekend, whenever you want. It's an annual. That tournament's open. It started May 1st and it's open all the way till December 31st. It's more of a bragging rights thing, and it's a way to learn how to use the Connect scale. That's why we set that up. However, a lot of our sponsors have kicked in stuff that they're going to give away to the winners of those, who has the largest, registered smallmouth and the largest registered largemouth at the end of the year. So somewhere in the first week of January, we can announce, who won those two. But
that'll be sweet. Between
now and then, the idea is that you can get that Connect scale and play with it prior to a regional qualifier and understand kind of how it works. And it's very simple. It's easy to use.
And then what is like validation of the scales, or is there validation of scales before tournament, or like what? Because I'm sure you've had the question. Someone's going to be, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's clear the,
someone's going to say something. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
The ghost. Let's clear the ghost in the room, right? Let's figure out what's going to prevent a guy from throwing a big lug nut in his fish before he weighs it, right? Let's figure out how, because we're talking money, and guys, unfortunately, there are unethical people that are out there. We all know that, right? I mean, yes. Let's just face it. I mean, we see it. Unfortunately, in our country, we see it almost every day, and it's a shame. What we're doing here is that we have every one of our events, we're going to polygraph first, second, third, and then we're going to do a random draw out of the top 40, and we'll do big bass. And they're going to get polygraphed by an outside licensed polygraph, agent. The one guy that we're currently partnered with.
This is where the 15% has to go, because we know that people,
Hey, I mean, it's a reality, but that's how we're, how we get around it. And when you become a member of American Bass Club, you have to accept the rules. You have to sign those and accept those to even become a member. And then within those rules, it clearly states that you will be polygraphed. And if you cheat, you're out of the club, you forfeit any winnings, you can be fined. It's a felony now. I mean, the way that they look at that, it's a felony thing. So, and we will, prosecute and press charges. So it eliminates all of that. The guys that I've talked to that are in the industry that do the lie detector testing and that kind of stuff, they said that in reality, in the fishing, realm, I said, how many people do you have you ever had to say, hey, you're done, man. You didn't pass, but you failed. Yeah. And one of the guys is one of the best in the country. He's like, none. I'm like, how's that possible? And he's like, because they don't show up. They know they're not going to pass. So they don't even come to the weigh-in. They just leave.
Yeah.
Like they don't even,
that's right.
They
I think that's what's cool about the sport. Like I had to ask because I know it's an elephant in the room, right? You're going to have the question regardless.
I mean, for sure.
But at the same time, that's just part of bass fishing. I don't care if you're fishing your local Wednesday nighter or you're fishing a big money tournament. You're going to be, it's an unfortunate aspect of the sport. And if it happens, I promise you'll just be exiled from the sport. It's happened.
Oh, for sure. And believe me, we will, we're using Premier Truth Services, which the guy's name is Mike, and he's phenomenal. He's been doing it for a long time, and he's really good. And so we're contracted with him to do these, and it's an outside service. He was in law enforcement his entire life. I mean, the guy's he's really good. And yeah, you're not. I mean, the bottom line is that if you do that, I told my boys this, and I coach this a lot to the guys that I coached over the years in hockey, and told all these kids, I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want in life, but you only have one name. You got one name, and you can dictate how that name ends up being. That's all on you. It's on your shoulders. That's your responsibility. So if you want to be a thief, you can be a thief, and that's your name. You want to be a stand-up honorable guy, you can be that guy. That's your name. It's your choice. So yeah, you're going to run into those guys, but trust me, if we have any of those guys that decide that they want to try and play in this, A, they're going to get caught, and B, we're going to expose them on every platform out there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Everybody's going to know who you are, and that's your name. You only have one.
I think the biggest thing is, like, this is such a cool concept, and I just keep reiterating this, but like for everyone listening, everyone watching, this is like got to be a word of mouth thing. Like, we just have to get it in front of the right people to get it to grow, because I really believe in you and what we're doing with American Bass Club and what you guys are putting on for a product, right? This tournament. And so I just kind of want to reach out to the people that are listening and watching, and maybe watching afterwards. Like, please tell someone you think that might be interested in fishing this, or if you're interested. I mean, the only way that we can make it $100,000 payout is if we get the right amount of people to enter. So please share this. Like, I really believe this has potential to be really big. It's just a matter of getting it out in front of the right people.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I'm excited. I mean, we can't wait. I want to hand somebody $100,000 check. I want, Melissa's out of her mind about wanting to hand somebody $100,000 check. She's got a heart the size of Texas. Right. And so, yeah. She loves people and loves to help people. And she's like, man, we can do this and change people's lives and change lives that would never, ever have the opportunity to fish for this kind of money in their lifetime. I've never had a chance to fish for that kind of money. I don't know if you've had a chance for that.
No, and that's the thing is, like, you can't, right? Unless you're going to dedicate your life to this sport, you do not have this opportunity unless you somehow fish to the top tier and then beat. You don't have the shot. Most of us.
And I mean, yeah. And I'm telling you, it's, for me, that's what I wanted to do my entire life. I mean, when I was like 4 years old, my dad bought me a toolbox, and I guess he told me that I dumped all the tools out, and he found it. He picked all the tools up from the lawn, and he's like, I'll show him, I'll just put them away and won't say anything until he asks for them. I never asked for him. He went and found the box, and it was full of tackle at 4.
That's so cool.
I mean, this is all I wanted to do my whole life. I'm not doing this for me. I'm not fishing them. I'm doing this for the other guys that don't have that opportunity, because this is the opportunity I've always wanted to have, but I don't see any way of getting there. Okay. Yeah. It's not that I'm not a good enough sticker. I don't have enough confidence. I won as a co-angler. I won, 2 of the Toyotas back to back, and then, got 5th, and the third one got Angler of the Year. I know how to fish. Okay. It's not like that's not the problem. The problem is I don't see a good avenue, not one that makes any sense to me right now.
And there's not, right. And like, when I was coming up in the sport, so a little bit about me that I don't think, and most people that are watching probably don't. So I came up in the sport because of Mike and Ellie's city limits fishing. And then I learned about like bass fishing competitively. Now my grandpa had taught me to fish or whatever. I pan fish for whatever, but I wanted to tournament fish until I realized it was a great way to lose a lot of money. Right. And this is, I mean, it is, it's lose a lot of money.
It'll humble your wallet. It'll humble your wallet faster than anything else. I'm telling you.
I'm like, there is not this opportunity unless you're fishing the top tier pro events. And I just think it's a cool opportunity to fish these tournaments and have a real shot to do it. So,
yeah.
But kind of talk about your sponsors, talk about some of the companies you guys are working with. Because I know you guys have a pretty big list of companies that are behind you guys as well.
Yeah. So we have several. the list is long and it keeps growing, which is beautiful. I mean, that's one of the nice things. We keep adding more and more stuff on. But as Bassin Magazine is on board, you get a 1-year subscription if you're a member to Bassin Magazine. They're a huge supporter. Striker is a big supporter. Obviously, I got some Striker. They got some really cool gear. Their rain suit. I don't know. I've had all the different rain suits out there. I'm telling you, I've had some of the best. Okay, and this rain suit that Striker has, I don't know about you,
but new one.
I had one of the best rain suits on, supposedly one of the best rain suits on Lake St. Clair in the middle of July, and it's the coldest I think I've ever been in my life. I was freezing to death. I was shaking so hard my butt cheek wouldn't stay on my seat. I was shaking off the seat. I'm not kidding you. It was cold. I was soaking wet from head to toe with the rain gear on. It poured. It was one of those torrential all day, just a soaking rain all day. It was awful. I'm telling you right now, I do not get wet in this suit. I don't get wet. I love it. It's fantastic. And they're doing 40% off to all of our members,
awesome.
Which is beautiful. And then for every winner at each one of the regionals, they're giving away to the team. They're giving away brand new suits for the winners.
That's sweet.
That's fantastic. And then we have a huge, I mean, the list is long, but you got Fishing Complete, you got Gamma, you got Pure Fishing, you got Extreme Outdoorsman's helping us, like you guys, super cool guy. We got Berkeley and Connect Outdoors, obviously, and Zipper and Case Plastics. I don't know if you've seen this thing yet, but they've got Case has this. It's called a floating little pintail worm, right?
I haven't seen it.
It looks similar to, the way I would describe it is it's kind of like a flatworm, okay, with a dirty little tail. All right. So if you look it up, that little pintail worm is, I'm telling you, on a drop shot or a Ned rig, you don't even have to move your rod. You just sit there and the fish cannot stand it. Like, they can't stand it. It's phenomenal. You got to go check that out. But anyway, so we have those guys. We've got straight up mounts. If you need, we make our boats here, like, in Michigan, we call them making them Erie proof, right? So if you're going to make them Erie proof, you got to get straight up mounts to bracket out your stuff so that it doesn't break off, when you hit the first wave. We have, there's Eternal lithium batteries that, those, everybody's kind of moving that direction, and they're phenomenal. They're super lightweight in comparison to a regular battery. They last a long time. Yeah, that's there's the little pintail. That thing is awesome. It is. It works really, really well. So
sweet.
One of the little dirty,
just wanted to build that up.
Yeah, one of the little dirty tricks out there. Right? Anything that can give you a little bit of an edge.
That's right.
So yeah, Gamma, Dale at Gamma, is doing at fluorocarbon. I'm telling you, fluorocarbon is not cheap, right? It's not. But if you're going to be in a situation where you've got $100,000 on the line, the last thing you want to do is lose your fish because you didn't spend a little bit of money to get some good line, and it makes a huge difference to have a good line. Yeah. Especially in clear water. Like, if you're going to fish these clear waters, up north, you have to have fluorocarbon. You have to. Because the fish, I've watched them line jump, 8-pound fluorocarbon. I watched them swim away from it. Yeah. You have to. The
craziest thing, I was throwing 10-pound, I was throwing 10-pound test, and I fished some pretty clear water, throwing a jerk bait, and I make this cast. And this is the first time I'd ever seen this. It was a handful of years ago. No wind, slick calm, and I'm throwing this jerk bait, long cast, and I start seeing this what looks to be a log on the bottom, just slight ripple, and I end up realizing, like, it's my fluorocarbon. It's my 10-pound fluorocarbon, and the fish, you could see them swimming along the break. They just move around the fluorocarbon or the shadow and just follow the shadow down. But you couldn't get them to touch anything because they knew what you were doing, right? But like, yeah, it's unbelievable. You have to have a fluorocarbon line. You have to have good line. And so that's a cool partner.
Yeah. Dale's a great guy and super excited about the whole concept, just like we were talking about. I mean, and most of the guys that I've talked to in the industry are. I mean, everybody's kind of on board and everybody's, in agreement. It's like we have to break some of the mold, and I feel like we're breaking a lot of them. We're breaking the mold of we're not spending money on, advertising. We're not spending money on. We're not going to make you famous. I'm not going to do follow everybody around with cameras and you guys, you make $100,000, you can get your own camera, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You don't need me to chase you around. You can do it yourself. So we're not doing that. We're not spending the money on all that stuff. The majority of the money is going back to the anglers, and that's how it should be. It's it's important to emphasize that. I think that's a huge factor and that's what I would want, as a tournament fisherman.
Yep. The other cool thing too that I think is happening is it's not, how do I say this politically correct? It's not with the intention of drawing eyes towards a big organization or a big company. Like you guys are doing it for the angler. It is truly for the person that wants to get out and fish a good money tournament. So I think that's a cool, thing.
Yeah. It's for, like I said, it's for the guys that just like you and I, man, that you have a family, man, you have obligations. You can't go chase the trail. I mean, you just can't. You don't have the time for it. I never had the time for it because, my first priority were my kids. And, of course they picked one of the most grueling sports, right? And so I had to do that for 16 years. And then, like I said, my mom and dad, my dad was in Vietnam. He was a Vietnam vet. So we're real passionate about trying to help veterans and support the vets. But he wanted to stay home. And what do? I don't have any brothers and sisters. So, we had to stay home and take care of him. And so you're doing those things. There's no way I could go travel all over the country and chase this, this dream that I have, right? I couldn't do it. And now you look at it and it's like, man, the entry fees and the travel and all that stuff, it really doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'm not the only one saying that. I mean, there's guys that are, that are qualifying.
There's podcasts, there's huge. Yeah.
Well, there's guys that are qualifying, and have made it to that point, and they're like, I can't I'm not doing that because it doesn't make any sense. Like I can't, I'm not doing it. So, and for the average guy that has a full-time job or owns his own business, there's no chance, and there'll never be one. It will never be there unless something like this happens. And that's why we put this together, is for that reason. And I think it's super important if we can get, everybody on board and pull these off and really push this thing forward. I think the sky's the limit. There's so many things that we can do in the future moving forward. I'm super excited about it, man. I can't, we can't hardly stand it. I can't wait. I think it's gonna be fantastic.
Give us your tournament schedule, because you guys have one coming up in July over in Grand Lake.
Yeah, we have. So we have one in our Western is in Grand Lake, and that one's in July, and then we go to up to the St. Lawrence in New York, which is going to be phenomenal.
That's going to be awesome.
It's a great fishery. Yeah. It's a great fishery. Then we go to Cumberland, which is another great fishery, and we do it at the right time where there's going to be a lot of fish caught, a lot of big fish caught in that one.
Yeah,
that's going to be really cool, and it's going to be a beautiful time of the year to be there.
When are you guys going to Cumberland?
That one's in September.
Okay,
and then we go and then we go to one of our favorites in the fall is Saginaw Bay. Right. Yep. And that one's a little bit like, I've always said, how awesome would it be to have a tournament in the fall on Saginaw Bay? I've said it for years, and a lot of my buddies have said it. You've probably said it.
I've said it. I've told Dirds, I'm like, man, I just wish there was a fall tournament out here instead of ending in August.
I know. And man, I'm telling you, and I don't know if I want to say this. I mean, I guess it's one of those things where it's like, it's so like passionate for me and personal, but man, somebody's going to bring an 8. I'm telling you. So if we have a full field on Saginaw Bay, somebody will bring an 8.
I think you'll see a 30-pound bag. I think you'll see one or two 30-pound bags, and you'll see at least you're going to see a 7-pounder. You'll see at least a 7-pounder.
Yeah. I don't know, man. In the fall, it's a different animal. You know it. It's a different animal in the fall. So I think that that's got a huge potential.
Yeah.
So I'll just we'll leave it at that. I don't, you know,
It'll be great. It'll be a fun event. Let's just put it that way. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And then, you know, and then we go down to Okeechobee in November, and that the Big O, man, is it doesn't get touched like that. And that, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no,
that's right.
It doesn't. So again, and everywhere I've been, all the big fish that I've caught in my lifetime have all been in the fall. You know, that's when they're bigger. I mean, so that's,
I think it's cool, man. You're not only the Saginaw Bay taking tournaments and putting it in a time of year where there's not tournaments, but you're talking about Okeechobee. There's not tournaments in November. Cumberland, a September tournament doesn't happen or not on like a national level. Same with Grand. I mean, pretty much all of these are tournaments with the exception of St. Lawrence where they're not in a super like tournament oriented time of the year. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, it's again, history has evolved to we do pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn, and those are and we do boat or co-angler, and it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. It doesn't have to be that way. And now, not only are we trying to break those molds, but we're also trying to break the mold of let's put them in a live well and put them in shock all day.
Yeah.
And then let them go and hope that they live. We're not, none of that's taking place. So it's a whole different, everything's kind of breaking the mold. And it's a whole different concept. And the idea is that it's about and for conservation, and it's about and for all the guys that love the sport as much as we love the sport. I love it. I love the sport of bass fishing. I love the competition. I love the whole concept of it, but I also want it to be here for my kids and my grandkids.
That's right.
Spent the whole day today with the kids and grandkids because it was Father's Day, right? It's fantastic. Like I love them little people, right? And everybody does that has grandkids. Anybody that has, kids or grandkids knows what I'm talking about. You love those little people and you want them to be able to experience the same thing that you've experienced, only better. And that's the whole idea behind all.
Yeah, we're at a weird point like right now. We're at a weird point in fishing, right? And we can just touch on this a little bit. We don't want to go too much longer, but we're at a spot where so many people are fishing. And yes, it's great to see the sport grow, but you're also seeing the fishing become tougher, or maybe the fishing needs to change in a way that is more conservation minded. And I'm the first one to say I've done the hero shots, right? I've put them in the live well all day. I've held them up. Then you go to let them go. And even if you take care of these fish, they swim real slow, or they like don't want to go. And you're like, oh, come on, fish, like go down. So I feel better about myself. And like, we just have to be more conservation focused. So that way the fishing can continue to grow and be better for our kids. So
yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's a huge thing. And again, not a biologist, but we have St. Clair right in our backyard. And you look at that and you look at the overall weight and the average, that is, I'm telling you, as big as the muskie are in that thing. Okay. And as many muskie, I don't know if you've been out there. When I've been out there at times where we were out there one time and stopped and saw, I'm not kidding you. We counted 18 within like 10 minutes that breached, completely came out of the water at 18 muskie, and they were all over 40 inches. And I couldn't even count the swirls that were going on and around the surface. There's so many big muskie in there. Those fish, I think that we're really hurting them in terms of big fish. And it can, that body of water can sustain the numbers because the majority of the spawn is on the Canadian side. So all those fish can continue to reproduce, but we're not catching those, those older fish are not coming to the scales and getting taken care of. And I think a lot of those big fish are dying. I really think that they're perishing. I really don't think that they're there. And look at Erie as an example. I mean,
that's what I was going to say is you have these ebbs and flows where one year you'll have all these guys want to run down to Erie. That'll last for 3 or 4 years. And then it'll bounce back to St. Clair. That'll last for 3 or 4 years. And then you just have to flip flop because I think we're really impacting the ecosystem way more than anyone realizes. And until you start to see other lakes happen, it's just going to be bad.
If you just like nobody really thinks about it. I don't think nobody really thinks about it because again, nobody really thinks about, oh, it's just boater co-angler. They're all boater co-angler. And you always got to fish 5 to get to the national championship. And that's just the evolution of it, right? That's just how it's been. And we got to bring them back to the scale because we got to have all the, the big stage, and we don't.
Well, yeah, man, you don't get the tourism dollars if you don't bring them back to the scale.
We don't need all of that. Like you could, all your family members. What I want to see, what my hope and my dream is that everybody brings their family to these events and they make it a family vacation like it used to be. That's what would happen. The whole family would come, right? And then dad and grandpa, or whoever, dad and his friend, or mom and dad are going to fish this tournament, and then we're going to come, and everybody can still come to the weigh-in, and we can have a great time, because at the end of the deal, we're going to still bring the 40 over the stage and talk about their day, but they're not going to have fish in their hands, but they'll have a check in their hands.
That's right.
And you can see what's going on the whole time through the live leaderboard through Connect Scale. So it's going to, it change. It's different, but I think it's better in a lot of different aspects. It's better for family. It's better for conservation. And it puts a lot more money in an angler's pocket than anything else that's out there right now.
For sure. So before we wrap this thing up, give me your rundown tournament you're most excited about, and then kind of your plans for this, over the next year. Cause I know you guys have a lot of big things coming up, and how can we help get the word out?
Biggest thing is that, everybody listening, share with everybody, put it on your social media, tell everybody about it and share it with anybody that that loves to fish, because it's a phenomenal opportunity for anybody that likes to tournament fish. I mean, it's just it's a great opportunity. I'm excited about, really, it's hard for me not to be super excited about the Saginaw Bay one, right? Because it's in our backyard, but at the same time, I'm excited about all of them, because they're all, it's like I said, it's a different animal. None of these fisheries get fished in a tournament setting like this on this kind of a scale at that time of year. None of them. So you're going to see things that you're going to see weights that people have never seen before, I think. And that's what I'm excited about. But most excited, the most thing that I'm excited about is, and Melissa's the same way, we both are super passionate about, we are super excited about the opportunity to be able to change lives. I mean, when you're paying out that kind of money, it's life changing. And that I'm super, super excited about that. That's, to me, that's the end all, that's like, I've got behind me on the wall, there's an 812 and a 794, right? And
it's unreal.
And those are exciting. And that was fantastic. But I'm telling you, to be able to hand somebody $100,000 check and experience, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hand it. I'll probably be crying like a baby. I'm just telling you, it's coming. I can see it. I can feel it. I know what's going to happen. I'm just being honest. It's going to be fantastic. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. Moving forward, if we can, if there's enough draw to it and all of that, we were talking that, maybe next year we do 5 in the north, 5 in the south, and do a north-south fish off, and then go to the championship. So cool. That'd be fun. That'd be so cool. Well, there's a lot of cool things that you can do moving forward, but really want to do something for veterans, and really want to do something for the youth. I'd like to do both, moving forward, and maybe do some kind of a youth scenario where we actually do it where the kids are getting it's a team deal. So he's fishing with grandpa, dad, uncle, or some, one of the boaters that want to step in, and some guys that want to step in, and, some of the pros maybe step in and fish with these kids that wouldn't have an opportunity to ever be on a bass boat in their life. And then all they're fishing for is scholarship money for that kid. And that'd be so cool. Wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, that'd be sweet. Those are the kind of things that we're trying to lay out to move forward, but you got to crawl before you walk, before you run. And
the biggest thing is just getting the word out, right? Like making sure it has a successful first year, figuring out ways to get people involved, get people fishing the tournaments, fishing and talking about it. So I think that's the biggest thing, is the more people we can have that are watching or listening or whatever, share this and share the American Bass Club and what it's about, the better.
Yeah, for sure. So. Yeah. Look, man, I appreciate you having me on. I really, really do.
No, man. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing this and putting this tournament circuit on. I think it's going to be really successful. Like, seriously, I think there's a lot of cool things that can come from this. We're going to wrap this thing up, guys. Thank you for everyone that's watching or listening. Thank you, Dan, for putting on the American Bass Club in these events, man. It's going to be really cool. I think there's a lot of potential. It's just getting it in front of the right eyes. I'm just going to keep saying it because it's the truth. It's just like people were going nuts about the Bass Pro Series amateur division or whatever, and I think this has a lot more draw, a lot more potential, a lot more benefit to, I don't know. I think this could be a lot cooler, to be quite frank. But no, thank you guys for listening. As always, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, and check out American Bass Club. I've left a link to their website and their Instagram down in the description below, so go check them out. And we're going to wrap this thing up. Take care, Ted Lyons. God bless.
Thank you.